Welcome back to another art practice ASMR video. As you can see, this is another Evangelion inspired video. And in this one, I draw the Mass Production EVAs from the end of Evangelion movie. In the last EVA video I made, I talked about the series and its connection to depression and mental illness, but I used it as a way to vaguely vent about some problems I was having. And you guys were very welcoming about my personal story, so I felt comfortable to make a similar video. In the last video, I tried to cover a bunch of different topics that the series featured. But in this video, I think I'm going to focus on the topic of self-hatred. Self-hatred is such a prevalent topic in Evangelion, and I think that must be because of the mindset that Hideaki Anno was in when he created it. He wrote the show during the most depressing time in his life, and after the show was finished, he was asked what parts of the show does he not like, and he says that he hates all the parts where he sees himself. And in a roundabout way, you could say that he was talking about the main character, Shinji Ikari, because people speculate that he could be a self-insert character for Anno. Shinji is a very relatable character for people who experienced similar social anxiety and mental illnesses as he has. But he can also be considered a very controversial character because of his atypical main character personality. Many people hate Shinji because he is weak and he is cowardly, and they find him annoying. And I think that's kind of ironic that people hate Shinji for that, because for all of those same reasons, Shinji hates himself. To understand why Shinji hates himself, we need to recognize the factors that can contribute to self-hatred. In many cases, the environment that you live in can contribute to your own self-image. If you live in a stressful environment, or you work in a stressful environment, that can heavily impact what you think about yourself or how you feel. In Shinji's case, he lives in a post-apocalyptic world that is constantly attacked by monsters that he's forced to kill. He also works in a militaristic setting, and he's constantly having lab tests done on him. So that is not at all what I would call a stress-free environment. Speaking of your daily life, the people around you that you see every day can also impact your self-image. if you are constantly surrounded by people who talk down to you or think little of you or berate you, that can severely impact your self-image and cause you to hate yourself. In Shinji's case, he works at Nerve, where he is expected to give his own life for a cause that he doesn't even support. But Shinji didn't go there for that. And he is constantly so close yet so far to the one person he wants to be with, and that is his father. This brings us to another aspect of self-hatred, and that is things in your past that teach you to lessen your own self-value. For Shinji, this was his father who left him at a young age. The act of abandonment caused Shinji to think less about himself, and it caused him to think that he isn't worthy of anyone's love. And coming to Nerve when he was 14 definitely sets that in stone, where Shinji learns that his father has no use for him unless he pilots the EVA. This next cause might be a little more relatable for people who don't experience mental illnesses. Have you ever had a night where you just couldn't fall asleep because you can't stop remembering that one embarrassing thing you did when you were younger? And no matter how many times you try to put it out of your mind and how hard you try to block it out, it just keeps coming back louder and it keeps you up all night. Well, some people experience the same thing, except it's right after they make any mistake, no matter how minor the mistake is. People will just berate themselves, and it will be all they can think about for hours to a day, maybe even a week. And this can severely devalue your own self-image. The Evangelion equivalent of this is my favorite scene from the TV series that I think they did really poorly in the rebuild movies. And it takes place after Shinji's fight when he first pilots the EVA. In the TV series, you're led to believe that after Shinji gets stabbed, he fails and Nerve has to step in to take out the angel. And after waking up in the hospital, Shinji is taken with Misato to a convenience store, and he hears two ladies talking about the destruction from the fight last night, and how the pilot of the EVA should pay for all the destruction he caused. And it isn't until Shinji's at home in bed that Misato reveals that Shinji succeeded and he did a good thing. So why is that scene played out like Shinji lost? Why was there the misdirect? I think you're supposed to experience that scene as Shinji, who in his own way failed because he couldn't control the EVA. He was losing the fight until the EVA went berserk and started fighting on its own. So that was a personal failure that Shinji deeply regrets, even more so when he goes to school and he gets beaten up because Toji's sister was injured during that fight, and that just deepens the cut that Shinji caused for himself. Shinji runs away after finding out all the pain he's caused people, and in a TV-only scene that I think should have been included in the movies, Shinji meets up with Kensuke, and Kensuke reveals that he's actually sort of jealous of Shinji and his ability to pilot the EVA. And this puts a lot of things in perspective for Shinji. That he has an ability that not a lot of people have, but he has no reason to use that ability. And when he thinks about it, he really has no reason to go on. And this is a real-life problem that causes a lot of people to devalue themselves. And that is, some people are so confused and disillusioned that they feel they have no reason to live. And it makes people feel very worthless. For Shinji, he feels that it's his duty now to use his gifts. He just doesn't know why he should. Shinji at first believes that he needs to pilot the EVAs to gain his father's praise. But with someone so closed as Gendo Ikari, that doesn't go well. Shinji then believes that he needs to pilot the EVA to prevent others from getting hurt. But all this does is cause others to feel horrible about the pain Shinji inflicts on himself. This brings us to the final topic that I'm going to talk about. But it's arguably the most important aspect of self-hatred. And that is that what you think about yourself isn't necessarily true. And that there are many aspects about you that you can't see. But the people around you might see them, and they might appreciate you because of them. The final 2 episodes of Evangelion are notorious amongst fans for being unanimously hated. So much so that Gainax ended up making the End of Evangelion movie, which completely redos the final 2 episodes. And as much as I love the first half of that movie, I think the second half is done much better in the TV series in the final episode. Because in the final episode, they introduce a very interesting concept, which is, if you were to meet the version of yourself that others see, would you even be able to recognize yourself? A lot of people think that the people around them only see your faults, and that they hate you because of the things that you yourself focus on immensely. Shinji felt the same. Shinji feels that he thinks that he's worthless and useless and cowardly, so the people around him must feel the same. But that's not the case. In most cases, they just don't understand his reasoning. But they don't hate him. Misato loves Shinji, and she wants to be able to protect him, and to be able to show him his own self-worth, and to help solve his problems. She just can't understand him, and she doesn't know how to help. Asuka doesn't hate Shinji, and in many ways she's just jealous of him. And that's why her sync power with her EVA starts to go down towards the end. Lastly, we have Rei, who I think had the most healthy relationship with Shinji than all of the other characters. Mostly in the Rebuild movies, but it's also shown in the TV series. Shinji and Rei both saw each other for who they really were, without having any preconceived notions based off of each other's past. And I think the way they could support each other and help each other see the value in their own lives was something that a lot of characters tried to help Shinji out with, but none of them succeeded in the way that Rei did. Not that Rei really did succeed, but she did get farther than any other character. And especially Kaoru. A lot of people say that Kaoru had the best relationship with Shinji, and I'm absolutely certain that Kaoru loved Shinji, but their relationship was entirely one-sided, with Kaoru completely supporting Shinji, whereas Shinji and Rei, they depended on each other to make each other feel wanted and human. And I think that is something to strive for, at least for me. A relationship where no one has ulterior motives and everyone just wants to make the other person feel the love that they feel for them. And that's pretty sweet, I think. So, in conclusion, try to purge all of the toxicity from your lives. Try to de-stress and appreciate yourself for your positive sides, and try to not focus on your own faults. Good night.